Hi, it's Michael Senoff with Michael Senoff's HardToFindSeminars.com. The title of this interview is called Ben Gay Introduced the Sales World to the Most Popular, Most Powerful Sales Training Material Ever Produced. This is part one of my interview with Ben Gay III. 35 years of top-level professional selling experience has made Ben Gay III a legendary figure in the sales world. He's a world-famous salesman, sales trainer, author, consultant, and speaker. He still sells on a daily basis. Gay has been the #1 salesperson at every single company with which he has been associated with, and that's why it's not surprising that his book, The Closers, which explains selling the way it really is the most powerful book on selling ever written, with over 3 million copies sold. In this interview, Ben reveals how his selling success sprang from a childhood fascination with the yearns of a former slave and local Civil War veteran in mid-century, which spawned an unquenchable passion for meeting interesting people. At his father's knee, he learned the amazing ability of a master closer to move people to action through the sheer power of talk. After a successful career as a youthful buyer at Macy's, he moved into direct sales and discovered the power of multi-level marketing, where he met and worked with renowned salespeople, including the greatest master closers he's ever worked with, including James H. Rudker Jr., J. Douglas Edwards, Fred Herman, Earl Nightingale, Zig Ziglar, Bill Dempsey, and Ray Considine, among others. In this no-holds-barred interview, he shares the absolute, unvarnished truth with you while sharing fascinating anecdotes about his career. In this interview, you'll discover the keys to sales success. Always sell a competitively priced, quality product to qualified customers. How a closer thinks. The secret of sales closing power. How to get the sale that day. How your success depends on the effectiveness of your sales presentation, telephone sales scripts, and direct mail letters, and much, much more. So meet Ben Gay III, the person with the unique ability to explain selling in down-to-earth terms you can easily understand and apply. The Closers is the Sales Closer's Bible, the one book you must have in your personal library. My interview with Ben Gay, the Master Closer, is one you shouldn't miss either. For more information on Ben Gay's seminars, books, and products in the Closer series, go to www.bengaytheclosers.com. That's www.bengaytheclosers, CLOSERS.com. Let's start from the beginning. Where were you born?
Born in Springfield, Massachusetts, August 22nd, 1942, which means as we record this, I just turned 66 a few days ago.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
What did your mom and dad do?
Mother was the last generation that was raised to do volunteer work and wear white gloves and take care of the home. And Dad, at that time, was a photographer. We, the cumulative we, owned 42 portrait studios in and around New England, called Hausman Gay Studios, Hausman being my uncle. And then the box Brownie came along, the first camera that sold to the masses, and my father saw the end coming, and so he went to my uncle and said, buy me out or I'll buy you out, but this business isn't going to support both of us for much longer, although they've made a lot of money. The box Brownie, the original mass-marketed camera, where it looked like a little black box, held about waist-high, looked down, saw your image and clicked, and all of a sudden, you didn't need a portrait photographer anymore.
Oh, I see. Who made that?
Kodak.
Oh, Kodak. Okay, so when that came along, you saw the portrait industry was on its way out?
Yeah. Dad saw it. It toddled on. In fact, almost every town still has one somewhere in it, but they don't make much money anymore. They depend on class photographs, in the senior class and the yearbook and so on.
Did your uncle start that business?
Dad and my uncle started it together.
So the two brothers started that together?
Brother-in-laws.
Oh, brother-in-laws, gotcha.
Yeah. So we sold out and went looking. I don't know if Dad had a target in mind or not, but we went from Massachusetts to the Los Angeles area, in particular Apple Valley, California. We were the first non-Indians to live there, Mom, Dad, and I. We opened up with the owner's Reserve Oil and Gas, Apple Valley, California. Dad sold Roy Rogers his ranch, and Pearl Bailey and her husband, Willis Beltson, their ranch.
So he was in real estate.
Mother, however, went to her grave without admitting that she just didn't like the place, but she claimed that the high desert country gave her nosebleeds. Entirely possible, but I know that living in what looked like the moonscape at the time, it's now a thriving city with grass and hay fever problems and everything, you know, but back then, I just know my mother from New England, picture Katharine Hepburn, was not real happy in Apple Valley, California. So we started on the way to Florida to buy another real estate company. Stopped in Atlanta to visit my father's uncle, my great-uncle. In fact, we were just talking about this, Arnold Gay, who ran the stables out in Sandy Springs, near your home. And we stopped in to visit him. Dad hadn't seen him in years. I'd never met him or anything. And he had a lovely home and a nice business. Fuller Gay Food Brokerage Company, and we were going to spend, I think, just a night or two, and when we got ready to leave, either my mother or I had mumps. So that gives you 10 days to recover. Then the other person, whoever had it first, was healed, but the second person got it. We were there another 10 days, so in the 20-some-odd days we were with Uncle Arnold. He talked Dad into settling in Atlanta and buying into the food brokerage business. So that was in 1948. My sister was born there. She still lives there. It's like there's an old movie, and I forget exactly the name of it, but it's sort of like Guess Who's Coming for Dinner. I mean, you stop for one night to do something.
So how old were you when you moved to Atlanta?
6 or 7.
And you stayed there until how old?
So I moved to California to run a cosmetic company out here, and by then I was, I'm guessing, 25, 1967.
Wow, you come from a real history of entrepreneurs and businessmen.
That was one of the nicest things that ever happened to me, Michael. Jim Newman coined the term comfort zone, which everybody else has worn out since then, but nevertheless, it's a great way to explain things. The kindest thing my family did to me, besides love me and try and give me a good education and so on, was by who they were and who they associated with, they set my comfort zone very high. We lived 2 blocks out the front gate of East Lake Country Club. Everybody that was anybody at the time belonged to East Lake. You know, the chairman of the board of Coca-Cola, Bobby Jones, the great golfer, was still alive. That was his home course. In fact, he was born where the 3rd green is now. His house was there originally, and the Grand Slam trophies were in the trophy room and so on. And I had nothing to do with it. I didn't achieve all that. I just got the benefit from it.
Yeah, you didn't know any different.
Yeah, and that's really the greatest way to phrase it, Michael. I didn't know any different.
Yeah, I heard that in an interview you did with a radio guy, so you were comfortable, and then you guys were talking about how your dad said, okay, it's time for you to go on your own.
August 22nd, my birthday.
So at 21, you were on your own.
Right.
You were staying in that family home, and then you moved out, and where'd you move to?
Well, if you're in Atlanta now, you'd be impressed. It's now called the Ponce, 75 Ponce de Leon Avenue, catty corner across from the Fox Theater, directly across Ponce de Leon from the Jordan Terrace Hotel. Now it is once again the place to live. They really dolled it up again. We were there because it had long since ceased being the place to live. And so my wife, who's now passed away, my first wife, Marcia, we got 2 rooms. It had no kitchen. We had like a bachelor apartment, the hot plate. We washed dishes in the bathtub, which was the room between the living room and bedroom. Now, we were on the 11th floor with a balcony if you climbed out the window, so we sat there and watched people come and go from the Fox Theater. They must have looked over thinking we were rich. It cost us $95 a month, and if you plugged in more than 2 appliances at a time, you blew every fuse on the 11th floor. And if someone was in the bathroom and you wanted to go to the bedroom, you had to open the window, step out onto the balcony, open the other window, and step into the bedroom.
Now, did you know you were in a dump at that time?
Almost as soon as I walked in, because what I got was half of the bachelor furniture that my running buddy and first business partner, Jimmy Rucker, and I had. And, you know, I didn't mind that when it was just an unending series of beer and pool parties. But when you suddenly have a wife who's going to Crawford Long Hospital to become a nurse, and you're living in hardly what you promised her. You know, she not grew up, but when we were dating, she spent a lot of time at the country club, at the Atlanta Athletic Club downtown and out at the stables in Sandy Springs, and she thought she'd married into money. Well, she had, but unfortunately, I'd just been expelled from the family.
Oh, darn.
She was about 30 days late. That was when I spun around, and the term comfort zone hadn't been created yet, but that's when I realized what is going on here.
younger, did you ever work a job? Did you have jobs?
Oh, sure. We used to go down and volunteer to sweep out stores and stuff. I've worked since I was 8 or 9 years old for pocket change and stuff. And then when I was 14, I set up a lawn mowing business. And it's not just me with a lawnmower. I had about 20 kids working for me.
All right, so you were hustling as a kid.
Oh, yeah. Dad let us be around nice things. But if you wanted money in your pocket, you earned it.
So at 14, you had your lawn business.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do it with a little partner, or you just did it on your own?
No, I started out on my own and rather quickly maxed out. You know, there's only so many lawns you can mow in Atlanta in the summer, in the heat and humidity and time. So I was complaining to my father one day, and he said, why don't you get people to work for you? And I said, they can go do it themselves. They don't need me, or vice versa. What's that going to do? And he said, well, you're pricing it wrong. I'm making up numbers because I really don't remember what it was back then. But let's say I charged $3 or $5 a lawn. He said, don't do that. Do an excellent job and tell them to pay you what they think it's worth. Well, it was magic. Whatever they were paying me before, it doubled. Once that happened, I said, well, this is great, but even now I'm still out of time. He said, now hire your friends and give them half the money. You collect and inspect. You're out of the manual labor business, and you get half of what 20 people are doing.
So he taught you really what a real business is all about. Now, when you were getting those accounts, were you knocking on doors cold?
Yeah.
Had you done that before, or was this kind of new? Did you have a learning experience when it came to direct selling?
Well, it was a learning experience somewhat, but back then we used to do a lot of fundraising. You're probably old enough to remember, not that they're out of business, but Krispy Kreme donuts were a huge fundraising item, and saltwater taffy, and then I did stuff for the March of Dimes and old newspaper boy days. My dad would encourage me to do that because I could meet people and learn the skill.
So at that age, when it came to a fundraiser in your school or whatever, were you always number one?
Yes.
Always?
Always.
Well, where did that come from?
I don't know, other than comfort zone, little competitiveness. I had a younger sister who was an excellent golfer, which just galled me. She was 7 years younger, so we had friendly competition going on. We had a big enough yard where we had a pitch and putt thing set up, and we were always competing there and so on. And then Dad taught me things that other kids didn't get taught because they hadn't been raised maybe by salespeople who own their own businesses. All my aunts and uncles, everybody, without exception, own their own business. All of Dad's friends own their own business or were president of some huge thing.
What's some other lessons Dad taught you that you can really remember?
I'll give you a quick little one there. That when you said, well, you're number one in fundraising, and the answer was yes. If there was a physical product, I would knock on the door. When they open the door, remember in Atlanta you have screen doors. When they open the inner door, I would step off to the side, almost out of sight, which would cause them to open the screen door. And I would hand them the Krispy Kreme donuts. So they had them in their hand before they knew why I was there. They'd taken possession. And you just hardly ever miss anybody that way.
Did your dad teach you that?
Yeah. And I said, I can't wait to tell my friends. He said, don't tell your friends. You nuts? You want to win the Columbia bicycle? You know, selling greeting cards and stuff. You want to win the Columbia bicycle, this is how you do it, son.
So you were able to earn some pretty decent money as a kid on your own.
I always had substantial is a relative term. I probably have 10 times that in my pocket now by accident. But back then, I was the kid with the money.
Hi, it's Michael Sinoff with HardToFindSeminars.com. Thanks for watching this video. You know, many of my interviews last 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, sometimes even up to 2.5 hours long. They're actual mini seminars, and you've just listened to a short sample of just one of over 117 hours of exciting, hard-hitting, mind-blowing interviews on how to make money in direct mail, advertising, copywriting. I assure you, there is not a resource anywhere on the internet or on the planet that comes close to the free information I provide at HardToFindSeminars.com. So go right now to HardToFindSeminars.com and you'll have free access to 117 hours of audio interviews with typed word-for-word downloadable transcripts and downloadable MP3 files. Please browse some more of the videos or go right directly to HardToFindSeminars.com. Thanks for watching.